Hello, good afternoon, everyone. And for those who are watching us from different time zones, good morning or good evening, wherever you may be. And for those who are actually watching us live, feel free to join us in this conversation. Share with us your comments, your questions, and let us know how are you actually learning from this conversation. My name is Marilyn, especially for those who are new in this platform. I'm the founder and CEO of Customized Training Solutions Private Limited, or CTS, and we brand as ourselves as the Asia's most trusted training and business solutions partner. We create programs that adds value and impact for leaders to stay relevant, to adapt to the next normal, and ensure performance of a hybrid team. And for today, we are actually specific to cyber resilience once again. And the reason why we have been doing a lot of activities around cyber security is because, as we know, cyber insecurity is fourth in the top 10 risks according to the World Economic Forum Global Risk Perception Survey in 2023 and 24. And I believe that as a business leader, this is one of the like top challenges or opportunities that we can actually help you with and do together. Because again, this is not just about the money spent. It's also about avoiding operational disruptions, brand damage, loss of revenue, and more. So today our discussion will be around securing the modern workplace, which includes mobile applications and hybrid environment. And it's my great pleasure to introduce our leader for today. I have here Ryan. Let me invite him in. Hi, Ryan. Just to introduce Ryan, he's part of the Solutions Engineering Organization at F5 in the Asia Pacific region, focusing on SaaS and managed service offering for cybersecurity and fraud prevention use cases. He dedicated time every day to enhancing the digital experience for customers across various sectors, including banking, retail, travel, government, and more. As a senior IT practitioner with over 20 years of experience, he specializes in cybersecurity and cybercrime prevention. Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Marilyn. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure to have you, and I'm glad to have you here. Even before this live conversation, we already had some conversations earlier. Thank you so much for your insights. I really appreciate that. And to start with, I would like to ask you several questions around hybrid mobile application. So, what are the most common cybersecurity threats targeting mobile devices? And how can people actually mitigate that?
Yeah, I think this is a very good question. While currently, the enterprise, the company allow the employee to using the mobile devices to access
Mhm,
the application, as the employee will travel a lot, they're not just sitting in the office environment.
mhm,
Definitely, they were using the mobile devices to
mhm,
connect to the level organization, to the company organization. And
mhm,
we see a lot of on a lot of news every day is about the attack on mobile application. Let's say for malware, for phishing, for scam. We also heard some specific terminologies we call man in the middle. I think those are the quite common cyber security threats. And as mentioned, we heard about phishing scam on the news every day, and we start to see a lot of bad actors, especially
mhm,
in Asia. They will try to start with scam to try to ask the user or the victim to install some malicious application on their mobile phone so that they can take over the mobile device, to take over the account, and then try to get the data from the device through the application. I think those are the very common cybersecurity threat through the mobile.
Thank you for sharing that with us. And I've noticed that as well before. And like it's very interesting how like this cybersecurity or cyber threats are actually like evolving in a very fast pace. In fact, I had a conversation earlier with another CISO, who's actually telling me that, oh, okay, um, like while we're actually working on, these challenges, at the same time, these people who are doing these crimes are actually like two steps ahead of us. Unfortunate truths, right? And so like what how can we actually as an organization ensure that we are able to secure or ensure security of the applications throughout the development life cycle?
Yeah, so I think ensuring the security of application through the development lifecycle is integrate the security practices into the phase of the SDLC, or we call the software development lifecycle.
Mm-hmm.
And it, typically we refer that as a DevSecOps.
Mm-hmm.
That means the customer from the very beginning, when they try to plan to develop a new application, they need to have those analysis on security, and when they start for development the app, so that they know what they need to handle and what is the requirement. Let's say they need to comply to some specific regulation, and they need to put that into the requirement so that they know, okay, when they try to develop the application, they need to take care about that. And definitely during design phase, they also need to follow the practice, and they also will have the review phase as well.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, you will go through the coding review exercise and also those kind of uh, application testing. Let's say the penetration test, the vulnerabilities test as well. And then once everything ready, they will publish the app. I think this is just the start of the maintenance phase, as they will keep adding new features to maintain the applications. That means that is a continuous exercise. They need to keep review their code for the new changes. I think this is also the challenge. And if they can start to involve the best practice in the day one, and
Mm-hmm.
definitely this is something they need to follow, and this is how they can integrate the best practice into the software development cycle as well.
Wow, thank you for simplifying that. I mean, as you know, I'm not a technical person, and I'm having a conversation with a technical person. I really appreciate for simplifying this. Again, as you mentioned, SDLC or the software development life cycle. It starts again, as you said, with planning, analysis, ensuring that there's compliance with the regulations while you develop and as well as maintain it, and it ensure that it involves the best practices from day one. So that's really great because sometimes like some people forget about like, oh, how about this, so how about that, we miss out on some things, right? So I'm really glad that it sounds simple, but sometimes some things are being forgotten, right? I
That's
remember
true.
that conversation as well with my last session, um on, where they told me that again, budget is always a challenge for most CISOs, but it's also a balance of like ensuring that security is not being compromised, right? For so ensuring that as you've mentioned, from the life cycle, that from the start, from day one, best practices has to be incorporated. And what do you believe are the strategies that are effective in securing hybrid work environments? Because now, like, we're moving towards usage of mobile applications. Even enterprise are actually moving into using applications as means to engage not only their customers but also their employees as well, right? And up until now, I believe that most people are actually working on a hybrid work environment. Plus, there's another thing around hybrid where like quite a number of data centers or even like I don't know, like systems from just being in the office before, now moving to, you know, to cloud. So like these are like some of the hybrid work environments that we can actually mention, right? Where, you know, employees also use their personal devices at home as part of the process. So what strategies would you say would help in securing this hybrid work environment?
Yeah, that is a good one. So I think for corporate devices should be good as the corporate devices allow the company can manage the devices, can push the policy with
Mhm,
the agent, with the VPN, so that I think this is not new for corporate
mhm,
devices, but for
mhm,
personal devices, or we call the BYOD, being your own device, I think
yeah,
this is some the user or the employee they love to while they can using their own iPhone device or Android device to connect to the corporate. But
mhm,
definitely the corporate also need to have try to balance the
mhm,
user experience and also security. And
mhm,
definitely the company may need the employee to enroll their device to the
mhm,
company device management system so that
mhm,
they understand that this is a trusted device, at least it's from a specific end user, and then they can apply certain policy control. And maybe for some of the policy control, it's related to the patch management, the OS level, or at least to make sure that the device without any application from the third party or an official app store. I think
mhm,
this is how the enterprise tried
mhm,
their best to manage um, the personal devices while the device is not belongs to the corporate. And
mhm,
and definitely if they using the personal device, perhaps
mhm,
maybe some of the control may be a little bit restricted. They may not able to have that specific permission on the application. Let's say download any sensitive file from the application. Maybe they can just view the application, view the document. So I think this is part of the strategy or the policy control, how
mhm,
they allow the user using personal device to connect to the corporate environment.
mhm. Oh, thank you for that. And again, just to summarize what you've shared, it's really about managing the device, making sure that they have some controls that are, are incorporated within that. Aside from usability, despite that, it's a balance of, you mentioned the usability and control as well, ensuring that there's the policy are being use, even those are like their own devices, right? As you mentioned, BYOD, and manage this or using VPN, as you mentioned, to securely access the internal systems wherever they may be. So thank you for that information. And so what role does mobile device management play in enhancing mobile security? And what are also the limitations? Of course, there's probably like some limitations around that as well, right?
Yeah, that's true. So MDM, or we call the mobile device management, is good
Mm-hmm,
for BYOD situation, the use case,
mm-hmm,
while when the employee they need to access the corporate data, then they
mm-hmm,
need to have certain amount of control. But
mm-hmm,
the limitation is, let's say if the application is not for employee, let's say the application is for the end user and the end user is a public user. Let's say for a banking application, they
mm-hmm.
cannot enforce the MDM policy for their banking customer. So in this
Oh.
situation, I think the bank or the application owner, they may also need to find a way how to protect their users. And let's
Mm-hmm,
say for a banking application, um, if they are not able to enforce the policy, and what they can do is they may try to leverage the mobile app to
mm-hmm,
understand if the user launch their mobile banking app, if the user is in a legitimate environment for running the app. Let's say if there are any uh, malicious application one
mm-hmm,
on top of the mobile app, banking application,
Mhm.
or if the banking application is the official application, any chance the bad actor they try to repackage the app by insert some malicious code inside the application so
Mhm.
that they can capture the username, capture the sensitive data for that session. I think this is also related to yeah to
Mhm.
the first question about the common cybersecurity threat. We see a
Mhm.
lot of scamming, phishing, and
Mhm.
those type of attack is targeting the public user, is not targeting the employee. So
Mhm.
I think it's not the MDM trying to address. And in that kind of situation, the application owner they may need to follow the practice, how they develop the mobile app, and then
Mhm.
how they can have the real-time analysis if the user is running the app in a legitimate environment.
Oh, that's very interesting because I didn't know like how the applications work, and it's interesting to know that sometimes like when it's out of the system of not out of the system of the company, but I mean once it's available publicly, so there might be like situations where they need like an additional protection or to be able to continue to enforce the policies and secure their public users, if I get it right.
Yeah, that's true. So you can imagine that
Mhm.
you are not, let's say if you're using those common app, let's say for e-commerce, for
Mhm.
retail, or for airline, and definitely those airline or e-commerce marketplace cannot enforce any security control to your mobile device. And I
Yeah.
think that is also very important how they do their job, how they protect their app, so that it will not introduce any loophole to allow the bad actor to take over their end user account.
Oh, that's interesting because I mean that's the challenge, right, for like public users of these applications. I mean, these are one way for efficiency and like usability as well of these applications, right? Because you can actually manage to like do transactions anywhere you are, but at the same time, it's interesting to know that it can actually also pose some security issues as well. Thank you for educating us around that space. And so, how can organizations, you've mentioned around balancing the usability, convenience as well when we work hybrid, right? But also making sure that there's robust security measures in, using mobile or applications and, working in a hybrid environment. So, how can organizations do that? How can they balance those challenges and opportunities as well while while actually working in a hybrid setting?
Yeah, so yeah, definitely. As I'm also a user, I need to connect to multiple application in my daily
Mhm.
job. And I think one thing is single sign-on is one of the very important technologies the enterprise may need to consider. Let's say
Mhm.
if I need to access 10 or 20 application a day, if I need to using different credential for the login, it will introduce a lot of friction. But if
Mhm.
the enterprise can have the single sign-on to allow the user to, once they log in, then they can using the same credential for multiple application. That can help to reduce the friction when the user using the mobile device. And but definitely, it also need to have a control on the policy, how they access the application remotely. Let's say
Mhm.
if they're using the VPN,
Mhm.
and I think this is also very important.
Mhm.
And again, for the application, the idea is try to uh, let the user to using the application. If they think, okay,
Mhm.
it's not easy to using the application, then that means they will just go away and using another way or using another way to access the application. Maybe
Mhm.
another way is introduce the security. So
Mhm.
that, I think when we try to do the implementation, we need to try to understand how the user using the application and then make them easily to use. But at the same time, we can also provide the security. So this is how we need to balance the situation.
Thank you. That's really like it sounds so simple, but I would say that it's harder than to implement than said, right? As always, right? So again, like but I've been hearing a lot of applications as well as systems that are being incorporated by organizations using single sign on. And obviously you've also mentioned earlier around policy control in ensuring these mobile devices or devices being used remotely are being secured or within the security policy of the organization as well. And I think one of the things, or um, from my conversation with another CISO earlier, he told me like one of the challenges, how can you actually manage people as well when it comes to like being able to really not only adapt but probably make use and follow the policies when it comes to usage of these mobile devices or application to ensure security of the organization, right? Because at the end of the day, you're actually like you're making use, right, of the application of the company. So that means there's some sort of different people accessing the program, the system, the application, or the device, or the system of the organization. So one thing that I can think of or to add on with what you've already said is probably creating more awareness and training, not only for the internal customers but also to external customers, to ensure that they are actually making use or like securing their own like what to look after, because you've mentioned the common threats are really like around scams, phishing, and it's really creating more awareness and education to the users of application, right? If I may add anything to what you just already said.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think the training awareness should be a continuous, regular stuff. The
Mm-hmm.
company needs to keep doing that to make sure that the user are aware of the challenge and also the risk. And then at least let's say they will not click any suspicious link from the email. I think this is something the customer, the enterprise can do.
True, true. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this conversation, educating us more, creating more awareness for those who are actually listening, whether live or on a replay. And so I would like to invite you, and in all my interviews, whether it's around leadership, learning, transformation, or even cybersecurity, I would always invite my guests to answer Miss Universe, or in this case, Mr. Universe question. That if you have a magic wand and can use it, what will you do with it? And in this particular conversation, I would say it's really so much on how can you actually create more security in this modern workplace or workspace.
Yeah, I think for me, it's all about visibility. So
Mm-hmm,
while the enterprise need to manage a lot of application,
mm-hmm,
and then the application may running in different environment. If
mm-hmm,
we have a unified platform to get the
mm-hmm,
visibility on all the application, so that the enterprise can make the decision better. So I think is what I wish we have
mm-hmm,
uh the capability, and definitely is something the customer or the enterprise should also go into that direction.
mm-hmm. Wow, thank you. And I believe that's what you have been doing as well in the work that you do or in the company that you work with. It's really so much of creating more unified platforms, right? In terms that's the reason why like when I actually attended the App World recently, or when was that? March?
Is April. Yeah.
April, yeah, around that month, right? So I attended that, and I realized, oh, that's very interesting because the business model of F5, the way you work is really so much around collaboration, similar to how I actually work as well, with like experts and partners as well. Because again, it's always a leverage to have the capability of having that. In your case, visibility of having a unified platform, because the more you actually have partnership, the more or the easier for you to actually integrate, right? How to ensure again the balance between usability and security, because again, the more you it unified it is, the less security vulnerability it is, right? As you mentioned earlier. So I really wish that you have that magic one. But even if you don't, I mean, that's already something that I believe that your organization and your team are working on. So thank you so much for that, and I really appreciate you taking time to have this conversation with me. And again, for those who are watching us, whether on a replay or on a live, thank you so much for joining us. And again, let's make sure that we work together and have this join this journey to create more opportunities, to create more cyber resilience in this digital world. And remember that even the richest investors in the world would say that in investing in yourself or in your organization and your team is the best investment you can ever make in your life or in your business, right? For that matter. So any like additional message that you'd like to share with us, Ryan, before we end this conversation?
Oh, yeah, I think I'm good. And thanks again for having me.
Thank you, thank you. And again, despite that the risks are growing, but so our capacity to respond. And we believe that, if we work together, we can solve these cybersecurity challenges and create more opportunities to create a more resilient digital foundation. Thank you so much again, Ryan and everyone. And we look forward to having you to the next session on Wednesday, same time at 4 p.m. So for now, bye. Bye for
Thank
now.
you.
See
Bye.
you.